Hello, this is Lisa Grady with Bit Part Stars in our special segment called Tidbits. Little tidbits of clarity. First thing I'm going to talk about today is the types of roles that an actor can get. There are certain levels. That's the way I want to say it. There is kind of a hierarchy, not a hierarchy, what each level of kind of acting is, or what each group. Little tidbits of clarity. Some people, come to Hollywood and they suddenly are starring in some movie or something, and that's great. But for the majority of us, that doesn't really happen quite that way. So I'm going to just go over each one so that you kind of understand the terminology, because it's a little bit tricky. And also it's weird because it's different for movies than it is for TV. Let's start with movies. Background players, or extras, or background artists, as they're sometimes referred to, are the people who come in on the set and sort of fill out the environment. If you have a courtroom scene, you need an audience, you need a jury, you need people maybe even sitting next to the leads. Usually don't audition for those. They are actually brought in by a service. I did it when I first got here, like many years ago. A lot of times they will go by your look and go by also like your wardrobe. So the next type of role. In movies, it would be called a supporting role. You might have a few lines, or you might be like a very big character in the movie. You're just not one of the leads. Now, sometimes they'll call that a bit part player. I know that we actors, when we get a few lines in a movie, we call it supporting. That's how we're going to put it on our resume. So supporting is anything that's not the lead, so it could be a huge differentiation between those. And then, of course, in a movie, you would have your leads. If there's two of them, if there's two that are equal billing, then they would be called co-stars. That's pretty much what movies are. It's pretty simplistic. On to TV. The next role that would be not a background player, but one that you would actually audition for, is also called a co-star. Just crazy, because to me, obviously, you have two stars and they're co-starring together, like co-parents, like equal. I don't know why the role is called a co-star, but it is. If you have one or two lines, you could call that a bit part, but really in our world, we would call it a co-star. Here's an example of a couple of the co-star roles that I have done in TV.
Some people have said patients make rattling sounds when they're disconnected.
Oh my God, he's Alan.
We need a wheelchair right away.
Next up, you would have your guest star. A guest star is a person who is on the episode, usually a larger role. Usually it's pretty important to the storyline. If you think of any of the serial shows like Criminal Minds or CSI, those shows rely on the guest star, the guest killer, or the guest victim, or the guest really, killers and victims, I think, are the two big ones. Serial shows are the ones that need them. They have to have them in order to make their murder of the week effective. I would show you an example of that. I have not ever done a guest star on TV. So the next role up is called a reoccurring guest star, or a reoccurring role. The best example I think I would use is Bones, the TV show Bones. It would be family members, it would be all the lab assistants, anyone who works for the FBI, those kinds of people. Serial killers that keep coming back, those are reoccurring guest roles. It's just somebody that's kind of pivotal but keeps coming back but isn't on every single episode. And again, I haven't got one of those, so I can't give you an example. The people who are on every single episode are your series regulars, or your main characters. So on Bones, it would be, you'd have your two lead main characters, which would be Bones and Celie, and then below that you would have, not below, but like with that, you would have Hodgins and Angela and Sweets, so they would be your series regulars on every single episode, unless of course they die on the show, then they are no longer in those episodes except the flashbacks. So that's it for Bit Part Stars Special Edition Tidbits. See you next time.